Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where last episode we returned from the moon for our Apollo 11 flight, and now we need to do Apollo 12. Let's hop into the R&D real quick. Is there anything that we really want that we didn't already grab? I just want to double check here. The weather analyzer is not useful on the moon, so I don't think we actually want to grab that. I'm just going through everything that is in, like, these tiers, right, that we can actually get here. So I don't think we need any of these larger reaction wheels. Cylindrified monoprop tanks would be nice, but it's not all that relevant. LT2 landing struts would, again, be in the category of nice, but I don't think it's necessary for what we've got going on here. Of course, I don't think we need any of these parts. Aviation, probably not. Actuators, these are convenient for some things, but probably not for what we're looking to do here. We could get access to things like the ant. What I'd really want to get is something like the spider or the twitch. That would be great. We would need to get propulsion systems first and then precision propulsion. Okay. I think for now we'll call it good. We need to do Apollo 12, and Apollo 12 is going to be largely the same as Apollo 11. So we're going to land on the moon in a different biome, and we're going to set up experiments, right? That's going to be the mission for Apollo 12. We definitely want a different biome. Now, we know that there were a couple of issues with Apollo 11. Specifically, this decoupler is backwards. So we need to do that, which of course means that we need to redo these struts. We're not in the correct symmetry mode. Okay, something kind of like that, and then we reattach this on, so that should be fixed at this point. What else do we need here? Well, let's take a quick look in our cargo here. We could theoretically put down photovoltaic panels, a GUAB ED monitor, and a Protodyne experiment control station, and that's it. We don't have access to the communications, but this should reach back to Kerbal, I'm pretty sure. 500K? I'm pretty sure that would. And we do only have access to a 3 cargo storage unit, right? So we could put this somewhere down here. And in reality, we could do like quad just to load balance it. And it would be something kind of like this. And we would be able to just put them out once we are on the ground, right? We wouldn't want to necessarily actually have 4 of them, though. That is going to add some additional mass. How much mass is this? 0.05 tons, so probably not a lot. But one thing we could definitely do is put it over here, with the idea being that we're balancing out the weight of the Radial Science Junior. Although that's really more of a problem once this decoupling happens. Now, we know that we have a very, very small amount of fuel here. Low margins. What I'm thinking about doing here is dropping this carrier, and we instead, well, we don't actually drop it. We just put in an adapter here, although not this adapter. This adapter is too small. We put in an adapter here and mount it on like that, but this is not the right adapter. So we would want like this adapter. Yes, that one is correct. So we'd make that be gray and orange, and then we would start this extended. That is really, really, really close here to hitting the engine. We don't actually care if the engine is destroyed, to be clear, but I'm still going to grab these landing struts and position them about here. That does mean that we're going to be a little bit taller, which will mean that this is a little more likely to fall over. To that end, I want to widen out our landing struts a little bit. We can grab modular girder segments here. These might be too big. They're a little too big for the fairing. Okay, so with that being the case, we could instead think about like modular girder small adapters, but that doesn't actually attach here. So what would we want to do then? Well, we could simply put these landing struts on like they were before. So that's not the positioning that we want them to be in, but something along the lines of not there either. Okay, let's be over here and space it out like that. Then we would simply go into local space and move these out as much as possible. I don't like having them not being there. Okay, I think what we should actually do here is I think we should use the modular girder segments, and those would be attached not here exactly, but would be attached here. And then we're going to clip in the modular girder segments a little bit. So we're going to have them be about half length, like that. And then we're going to put in the landing struts. Like that. That does mean that we're going to have to edit our fairing here and have the fairing go slightly higher up. That is relatively fine. So it would end up being something more like that. That seems okay. So this is going to be a wider base, as well as a little bit more room here for us. Can we actually move these out at all without clipping into the fairing? This starts to clip very slightly. So we would have to turn snap off and just move it in something like that to not clip. So there we go. Let's save this as Apollo 12. I think we need to be in place mode. Apparently. Okay, we'll save that as Apollo 12. Were there any other changes that we wanted to make to this system? Well, broadly speaking, I'm pretty content with it, except for the visuals up here, like with the fairing. I don't love that. But everything else, I think, is okay. We're definitely still going to have some thrust offset issues here, but we know it was manageable. And we are going to be tossing a little bit more fuel into our fuel tank for landing here. So that gives us just that extra little bit of headroom there. So I think this is good. I think we're now ready to head out. Unfortunately, we can't bring Valentina to the moon. Why? Because the first woman still, to this day, in 2023, hasn't landed on the moon yet. That is actually part of the Artemis 3 mission, though. The planned Artemis 3 mission. And we are going to be doing the Artemis program. So that is definitely noted. Let's double check our staging here. I don't think we actually broke any of the staging. In theory. See, that engine, the fairing. Yeah, this seems correct. I don't think we actually broke any of that staging. We shouldn't have broken the rocket itself. I do want to bring, I think, someone other than Jeb, though. He did, after all, land on the moon. So we're going to remove him from the vessel. We're going to bring Corvi at this point. So Corvi, Bill, Bob. We're going to still have Bill be in the... Actually, we don't have to. We could bring Valentina for the experience to be piloting the command module. That's an interesting option. She hasn't landed on the moon. Technically, no woman has orbited the moon in reality, but, I mean, we could definitely do this. It's a viable option. And then we would bring Bob just because he's our only scientist, or we could even recruit a new scientist. That is an option as well. So we could bring 2 pilots and a scientist. We could replace Valentina here. I feel like getting her the experience is still valuable. But also it kind of doesn't matter to a certain extent. So let's hop into the astronaut complex here. Let's hire ourselves a new scientist. This unfortunately does have to be a male Kerbal, and we'll go with Donnie Kerman. Fantastic. And we could even hire another male pilot. So, like, Bill Top. That'll be fine. We'll hop into the VAB, and that's okay. So we've got ourselves our crew. They are very experienced. We're going to be bringing along Corvi, we're going to bring Donnie, and we're going to bring Billtop. So that'll be fine. These are the crew that is going here. Excellent. We're going to save and launch this. Let's get this thing headed on out to the moon. We're not making major changes this go-round. Apollo 13 is going to be a spicy one. Apollos 14 and 15 are kind of very similar. Apollo 16 and 17 is when we need to include a rover, and that's going to be interesting. We'll see how that ends up going. For now, we're going to throttle up, SAS on, and off we go. Excellent. So we're going to get our apoapsis reasonably high here. We know that this rocket is more than sufficient to get us to where we need to go. And with that extra little bit of fuel on the lunar module, it should be absolutely fine. We should have no real fuel concerns at all at that point. So that's great. 7-kilometer apoapsis here as we pass through the clouds. Wonderful. 10-kilometer apoapsis. So we're just going straight up here until we get an apoapsis of about 20. And then we're going to start getting some horizontal speed. Okay, so over we go. We are, as per usual, picking up a bit of a roll here. But it is very manageable. We're definitely wanting to fall over a little bit more than I want it to go. So I'm counteracting that a little bit. But I'm keeping an eye on our apoapsis, and I'm sitting here thinking, we need to be pretty much right at the horizon right now. So we're heading on over. After all, that apoapsis height is about 60 kilometers, and we need to be getting ourselves as much horizontal speed as possible. Remember, the trick to getting to orbit is not going up, it's going sideways fast. And so that's exactly what we're doing. Cool. So apoapsis height is going to be up in space very shortly here, and we're punching through the atmosphere at a reasonably high clip on the vertical speed. No major issues here right now. We have drifted off our node a little bit here, not really our node, but our 90-degree marker. And our apoapsis height is plenty high. I'm just burning out this engine in its entirety. And getting us a little bit of distance. Okay. So we're going to like 230. I guess we might as well push this up to like 250. There we go. That'll do. And now we can ditch our fairing. We no longer need to carry this weight. Phenomenal. And once we arrive at the apoapsis here, we're of course going to just be pushing this right on up. And circularizing. Cool. That'll do. So no problems there. We're going to be in space very, very shortly here. And let's just... Oh, this is so pathetic. Our poor, poor reaction wheels. We're just going to head on over here. There we go. We're now in space, so we don't have to worry about drag. It'll be about 10 minutes to the apoapsis here. That first stage is quite powerful, actually. There's no doubt about that. Okay. Let's warp. So off we go towards the apoapsis. And we've got about a minute now. 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0, and mark. Okay. We were drifting a little bit there. Got it under control. And of course, there's not too much delta V to get us into orbit from here, because that first stage delivers a lot of power now. We knew that would happen with our Block 3 upgrade. That was absolutely the plan. And boy, does it ever. Boy, does it ever. It delivers basically the perfect amount of thrust for this payload. It's pretty much ideal. So let's get this circularized, about 90 more meters per second to go. Our thrust to weight is, of course, pretty low with this engine, but that's fine. It doesn't need to be high. And how are we doing on the inclination? 1.4. Ooh, okay. Well, we'll see about fixing that. We're definitely going to need to do an inclination change here. Eccentricity is good enough. It doesn't really matter. Let's go for setting the moon as our target, and we've still got that Apollo 11 lander chilling on the moon, as well as some bits of it in orbit there, but that's fine. So next up is going to be this ascending node over here. So we'll add a maneuver there, and let's bring this on to a correct inclination to enter the moon equatorially. So that's only a 50 meter per second burn. That's no problem whatsoever there. Let's physics warp here as we turn over. Okay, coming out of physics warp and warping. Phenomenal. Luckily, Corvi has enough experience to be able to hold prograde and retrograde, which is, of course, very convenient for us. We've got about a minute until this burn here. We were drifting off of the node. I have counteracted that. 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Excellent. So this is a very minor inclination change burn here. That's probably... Did we overshoot it? No, it's good enough. Okay, looks good. So now we're going to be heading off to the moon probably somewhere around here, is my guess. Just going by gut. Yeah, that's a decent encounter. So what do we got going on here? We want to bring this down, we know, to about 115 kilometers. Basically, we're just trying to repeat what we did last time. So we're just bringing it down, but we want to land in a different biome. Previously, we landed on the far side crater, and we're not going to want to do that this time. So we're going to bring this up to about 115. This is very close. Yep, that'll do. Cool. And we can see this lander here is actually in orbit. We left some bits behind down here, but they are considered junk at this point because there's no control mechanism for them. So where is that? Off over here. So yeah, we can see what crater we landed in by tracking the debris there. So that's absolutely fine. Let's line up for this burn. There we go. Overshot it a little bit. That's fine. And we're going to head off to the moon here in about 1 minute. Let's get lined up here. Hello, moon. Okay. So lined up. There we go. And we'll warp forward a little bit. 30 seconds. 20. 10. And mark. So this is, of course, going to be a bit of a lengthy burn. We know that this is about a 2-minuter. And it's going to burn a significant chunk of the fuel in this upper stage. We do have some oscillation here, and we had that previously. I'm going to turn off the gimbal in our engine. Yeah, that definitely solves that oscillation. Okay, looks good. So that's solved. No problem there. We can just honestly have this gimbal be completely turned off for this entire flight. We don't need to have that gimbaling. We can come out of our physics warp here. And this is probably good enough. 1.8 meters per second off. Okay, let's lock to prograde and bring this right on in. About here will do. And we're then going to add a maneuver here and circularize it on up, bringing that straight on down. Excellent. So that looks good. We're entering basically the same orbit as we did before, but we're going to be targeting different biomes for getting different science here. So let's physics warp and get into position for this burn. Okay. Downward we go. Hang on. Physics warp is being weird. Yeah, I wasn't able to actually go into regular warp because we were physics warping. So we overshot that. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. We'll get this swapped on around. And let's warp. Cool. We didn't have our maneuver change on us. That's good. So no problem there at all. And let's get into position here. We're going to circularize it on up. About 50 seconds until that. 40, 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Cool. So down we come here. And we have entered orbit. Almost. We've entered orbit as of now. There we go. And let's just circularize this right on up. Now this time we are going to change our descent profile a little bit, that's for sure. No doubt about that. We're going to be going down to about 15-kilometer orbit and then descending rather than descending from so high. And that is more indicative of how this was actually done in reality. They actually dropped to a 15-kilometer orbit like in the Apollo 10 dress rehearsal. And from there, it was good to go. So we're going to transfer some of our crew members here over to the LAM. We know that we need to bring Donnie, and I think we'll bring Corvi. We'll leave Billtop in orbit. So we'll move Corvi over, and we're going to move... So we need to transfer Billtop, right? Yes. Transfer Billtop on over. So... Let's see. No, not Billtop. What am I doing? Not Billtop. We want to come in here, transfer. Billtop, get out of here. Billtop, you're staying in the command module. We want to be moving Donnie and Corvi. Okay, so Donnie moves over. We want to make sure we have our scientist, which is Donnie, and we want to make sure that we have our pilot who can hold retrograde. That's useful. So that'll be fine. We've got Corvi and Donnie. That looks correct. So now we can definitely detach here. With this extra 72 liquid fuel, that will definitely give us more margin on this. And it'll be more stable with the legs out a little further too. So that'll be fine. We're now ready to undock this. And let's bring these guys on down. Well, first off, let's get a little bit of distance here. There we go. Let's bring these guys on down to their 15-kilometer orbit. So we're just going to hop over to retrograde here. I'm not even going to bother with having a maneuver for this. So we're just going to bring this on down. We need to activate this engine. That would help. There we go. I'm not going to do any of this stuff through staging, if I can help it. So we're watching our periapsis here or here. Either of those is fine. And now that we've got distance, we can go up to full throttle. We're angling for 15 kilometers here. So 16 and overshot it slightly. Let's give it a small correction. That'll be fine. And there goes the service, or rather the command module. There's kind of no service module here, but there is a command module. Okay, there we go. That'll do. So at this periapsis, we'll use a maneuver here, and we will, and that's just used for timing. We will bring this on down. Cool. Circularizing that. That's about 50 meters per second. And that, I think, is going to save us a substantial amount of fuel from just landing from 100 kilometers like we did last time. So we'll bring this on around. And let's get into position. 10 more minutes in this warp. Ooh, hello. Hang on. Stop. EVA, grab this. EVA report near the canyons. So that's great. That's a biome that we hadn't gotten before. Excellent. So we'll continue to warp forward. We've overshot. Okay. Well, I'm kind of dumb, but that's fine. I thought that we were... I was manually warping, but I thought we were in this warp. No, we were not. Okay. And apparently we can't turn. Or rather, we can't pitch. What is happening here right now? We can go this way. I cannot pitch. Oh, I can pitch up. I cannot pitch down? Okay, we appear to have a bit of a systems failure here. Confirmed. I cannot pitch down. That's very strange. Okay, let's go into docking mode here. We pitch up. Okay, I'm going to turn this off. We appear to have picked up quite a trim. Okay. So we're tumbling. Well, we can get this fixed. We can definitely get that fixed. So let's get this yaw trim out of here. I wish there was a hotkey to just reset all trim. Now I'm working on the pitch. Okay. We've got quite a tumble going here. Looks like we're going to have to wait until we have this small snafu fixed. There we go. Okay, let's get this under control. Now that we're no longer trimming like mad, that'll be good. Excellent. That is almost certainly a mistake I made. That's not a bug or anything. I probably was trying to steer while also doing physics warping. The hotkeys are the same. So we'll get this under control. Corvi, you've got this. I'm quite certain. Fantastic. They might be slightly dizzy. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to add an orbit here, and we'll get this on the next orbit. Okay, so that's about 5 kilometers. We'll circularize that on out to about here. Change the timing ever so slightly. Okay, looks good. Let's try this one again, now that we're no longer spinning like mad. We got it under control. The Kerbonauts think that they can still do this. So there's no need to abort this. We're going to just bring this on around. Excellent. Oh yeah, this is completely under control. 50 seconds, 40, 30, 20, 10, and 210 mark. Beautiful. So we're entering our circularized orbit here. I ended it a little early there, no doubt about that. Okay, this'll do. That's very close to circularized there. We could drop it a little further. There we go. So that looks good, and then we're going to angle for one of these locations to land in that is a biome that we have not landed in yet. So that is the goal here, but it is time to put a cut in here, so the landing for this one is going to have to be next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Andy Magar, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.